the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 5. I'm Mark Hall. DC News Now is your local election headquarters. Well, it is Election Day, and across the DMV, thousands of people out casting their ballots for congressional, state, and local elections. We're following all of these races for you on DC News Now. Now, if you have not voted, there's still time, but you'll need more than just a jacket before you head out to the polls, and we have you covered from the times that the voting will end and what you need to bring. Now, D.C. and Maryland voters can hit the polls until 8 p.m. In Virginia, poll sites will be open until 7 p.m., and in West Virginia, they'll close at 7:30. And you can vote as long as you're in line by closing time. So what do you need to bring if you're a first-time voter in Maryland or D.C.? Well, you'll need either a valid photo ID or proof of residency, like a utility bill or bank statement. Otherwise, no identification is needed. In Virginia and West Virginia, a form of ID or proof of residency is needed regardless of your voting history. So unsure if you're registered to vote? Well, you can make sure that on the Maryland State Board of Elections website, or if you're in Virginia, the state's Department of Elections website. Well, one of the biggest races tonight is in the state of Maryland, with Governor Larry Hogan winding down his second term. Democrat Wes Moore and Republican Dan Cox are vying for his seat. Now we head over to Annalisa Gale. And Annalisa, there has to be some optimism among more supporters.
Mark, that's for sure. Right now, things are pretty quiet, though, here at the Courtyard Waterfront in Baltimore. I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a look at what's behind me. There's a security sweep underway ahead of tonight's election watch party. Today, Wes Moore made stops in Baltimore City near one of his campaign offices. He then visited 4 polling sites from Anne Arundel County to Ellicott City. He actually voted last week in West Baltimore. Last night, he was campaigning with President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden. We're expecting him to come out tonight shortly after the race is called to either give that victory speech or the opposite of that. He will be with family and friends and some big names, according to his campaign office. We'll be sure to let you know as soon as we start seeing some activity here. But we did start hearing some music playing here in this site. And as you hear, they're now rushing us out as they're about to do that security sweep, Mark.
All right, Annalisa, thank you very much. Well, many experts believe that Moore will actually make history tonight, becoming the state's first black governor. But does Dan Cox have a chance? Because Larry Hogan won twice. Our gubernatorial team coverage continues now in Annapolis. DC News Now, Stephen Cohen is live at the Cox camp. Stephen, what's it like over there?
Hey, Mark, as you say, Maryland will have a new governor starting in January. And Dan Cox, a delegate from Carroll and Frederick counties, won the primary in July by defeating Governor Hogan's choice as Commerce Secretary Kelly Schultz. So now Dan Cox will square off this evening against Wes Moore, the combat veteran, the nonprofit executive, and author. You can say that Dan Cox is the hallmark of Maryland's conservative party. He was endorsed by Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, the former president held a $25,000 ticket reception at Mar-a-Lago for Dan Cox. Governor Hogan refuses to endorse Dan Cox. He calls Cox a QAnon whack job. The Democratic Governors Association injected an interesting dynamic in this campaign. They ran advertisements supporting Cox on the belief that moderates and Republicans of an independent streak, and of course Democrats, would find him voted against Wes Moore, and polls seem to be indicating that. Cox is 48 years old. He is an advocate of homeschooling. He was a town commission president before his election in 2018 to the House of Delegates. His main issues in the legislature have been keeping gender and sexuality as instruction material out of the classroom. He is also a strong opponent of the vaccine mandate. And Dan Cox got tremendous national attention when on January 6th of 2021 he tweeted that Mike Pence is a traitor for accepting the results of the Electoral College. He is a graduate of St. Mary's College, then went on to get a degree from the University of Maryland, and then his law degree from Regent University, a law school founded by evangelist Pat Robertson. We'll be following the developments tonight. We'll keep you posted, reporting live from Annapolis. Stephen Cohen for DC News Now.
All right, Stephen, thank you very much. We're going to continue our team coverage, but we're going to go into some other news now. This morning, 2 people were killed in Montgomery County, Maryland, near a polling place. DC News Now's Katie Ree spoke with community members and the police about the incident.
Community members are still in shock after 2 elderly residents were hit and killed out here near Fields Road Elementary School this morning. Shortly after 7 Tuesday morning, police were called to School Drive and Muddy Branch Road for a report of a pedestrian accident. 2 people, one of them a 70-year-old woman and the other a 65-year-old man, were hit by a car. They were taken to a nearby hospital where they died. Montgomery County Police confirmed to DC News Now that the pair were hit on School Drive, which is right near Fields Road Elementary School. The car that hit the 2 people remained on the scene. However, community members say they're tired of incidents like this.
My friends and I used to walk here all the time, and so when I saw the story, I was like, whoa, but it just seems hard to imagine in this residential area in front of a school that someone would not see 2 people crossing the street.
It could have been us, it could have been someone we know directly, so I feel like this is becoming a problem.
No reason to speed, especially on these small streets, to save like a couple of seconds. I don't know, I think we need to do a better job of kind of enforcing that as well. I know that the police have a lot of work to do elsewhere, but focusing on these infractions is going to be pretty critical for keeping people safe as well.
This incident is still under investigation, but Montgomery County Police confirmed to DC News Now that they're investigating whether alcohol played a factor in this incident. In Gaithersburg, Katie Ree, DC News Now.
Well, Damon, it is election day, and anytime you have good weather, which means no rain or snow, it's a good day to go vote.
Exactly, Mark. Yeah, it helps voter turnout tremendously, I would assume. And yeah, it's been a beautiful day. You still have a couple more hours, of course, here to get out and cast your votes. Just be sure to grab the jacket as you head out the door. It has been a little bit of a cool one. Look at our high temperatures from earlier this afternoon, barely getting back into the low 60s, back toward the Interstate 95 corridor, upper 50s as you went back to the west along and into the mountains there along Interstate 81. And this was a very drastic change. Yesterday, we had high temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. So everyone a good 20 degrees cooler than that on this election day. And temperatures, yeah, they've been going down a little bit so far here over the last hour or so, but really we've been staying in the 50s. Now that the sun is down, though, expect some of these middle and upper 50s to quickly transition over to more of the 40s out there in very quick fashion, because we are going to see pretty much the prime setup here throughout the evening for that temperature drop to take shape, as we are going to see the winds that were out there earlier on calm down, and then also we will have those clear skies continuing to stay in place. So over the next few hours here, the last little bit of time you have to get out and cast your vote, it's going to drop through the 50s, and by the time we get to 8 o'clock and beyond, those temperatures are going to tumble into the 40s. So yes, we're talking about some very chilly conditions by the time we get out there into the morning tomorrow, as we are likely to have lows in the upper 30s. DC around the Beltway might be one of the only spots that stays in the low 40s. Otherwise, it is going to be a very brisk overnight tonight and then into the morning tomorrow with some frost possible. So we've cooled down. Now, what is the next thing we're going to keep an eye on with our extended forecast? We'll let you know here coming up in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. Well, tonight, voters in Maryland will have a chance to legalize marijuana for people 21 and over. It's question 4 on the ballot, an amendment to the state constitution that would legalize recreational marijuana. Our reporter Yamarie Sese is live at the polls in Prince George's County. And Yamarie, could this impact the state's economy? Talk about the impact going forward.
Yeah, well, the marijuana industry is a billion-dollar industry, and that also means more money for the state. Now, I was able to speak with some advocates on both sides of this, and the person that opposes this tells me that marijuana use has a lot of mental health disorders that comes with that, and one of the main issues is schizophrenia. Now, they tell me that legislators will have to invest more money into mental health resources, so we may not see any of the benefits of this. And people who advocate for this bill tell me that they just want to make sure that the money is spent effectively and in communities of color.
would say the social costs will far outweigh the benefits in the long run, and we, the taxpayers, will pay those social costs. If you increase schizophrenia by just as much as 10%, you would totally wipe out any tax benefit.
You're going to make billions of dollars off of it, millions of dollars off of it. It should go directly to our communities in regards to tax revenue and building up our community, as well as ensuring that there's equitable access to being able to grow, sell, and distribute marijuana from people of color.
Now, a recent poll conducted by the University of Maryland shows that nearly 70% of people are in support of this, but we will find out tonight as people cast their ballots. For now, reporting in Bowie, Maryland, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
Yamari, thank you. Congressional races across the country will decide the balance of power in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon is live at the Capitol with a preview of what to expect. Good evening.
Hi there, good evening. Well, what people can expect tonight is that by the end of the night, we may not know which candidate won certain key races. We may not even know which party won control of Congress. But election officials around the country say that's both normal and necessary to ensure that all of the votes are accurately counted. Former President Donald Trump cast his ballot in Florida and made one more pitch for voters to support Republican candidates.
You have to fight crime, you have to fight to keep our taxes low, and you have to do something about the border.
On Monday night, President Joe Biden said voters have plenty of reasons to keep Democrats in control of Congress.
We've created 10 million new jobs, 3.75% unemployment.
The president also touted the legislation his party has successfully passed, including a pandemic relief package and historic investments in infrastructure and fighting climate change.
But for all the progress, we know a lot of families are still struggling. That's why, with the help of your members of Congress, I signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act.
And Democrats expect protecting access to abortion to motivate their supporters. Casey Burgett, Legislative Affairs Program Director at George Washington University, says the election results are likely to be extremely close.
Where 1-2 percentage points are going to be the huge difference between literally owning majority status in either chamber and not.
Republicans need one additional Senate seat to gain control of that chamber. That could happen if Democrats lose in Nevada, Arizona, or Georgia. But Republicans will also need to hold on to the Senate seats in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Now, some of those races could drag out for days or even weeks, and that's because some of them are already facing court challenges. And then in Georgia, for example, if one of those candidates doesn't get at least 50% of the vote, then that race will head to a runoff that'll happen next month.